Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be going into Drive Parry, probably the most talked about mechanic in this game. It's kind of divided the community a bit. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I will be going into what makes the SF6 Parry unique. And also, if you wait till near the end of the video, I will be going over something that I think a lot of people have slept on and a lot of content creators actually said wasn't possible with the Parry in SF6. And I'll explain how it works and why I think it could be a game changer. So stay tuned for that and let's get it. So Drive Parry, how do you do it? First of all, the input is medium punch plus medium kick, very similar to Street Fighter 4's focus attack. So it's the same input. Now if you tap it, you'll just get the quick parry animation, and if you hold it, you will continue to hold the animation and you will keep absorbing hits while you do it. Now the initial tap will cost half a bar. If you continue to hold it from there, then you will continually drain your drive gauge until it's empty. So you can literally hold it for as long as you want. I wouldn't recommend it, maybe only to parry multi-hitting moves, but you can do it. Now when you successfully parry, you will gain back drive gauge. Now how much you gain purely depends on the amount of damage you absorb, it looks like. So depending on what move that you parry, you will gain a different amount of gauge back each time. Now from what I've seen, and bear in mind everything is subject to change, but from what I've seen in all of the videos, it has about 1 frame startup. So it's active from the first frame, which seems a bit crazy as it means you can parry meaties. Now if you parry an attack in the first 1 to 3 frames, you will get a perfect parry. When you see this, the screen will freeze so you know you got it. You have about 2 hours to react to whatever they did and you can punish accordingly. Now, 1 to 3 frames isn't a very big window, so I think this won't be seen too much, but when it is, it will be pretty hype, and I think this is very similar to how the Street Fighter 3 parry worked. Now, the normal parry, this is not the same as SF3, it's more similar to SF5. For example, Ryu, when he parries, you have to go through the recovery frames before you can press a button. So that means that you can only parry certain moves and really get a decent punish. It's very specific, or you can just parry and then you'll just gain some drive gauge back, but you may not be able to punish, or if you try to attack, you may get counter hit. Now it's also worth noting that the parry has recovery, so if you get hit in the recovery frames, you will get hit with a punish counter. So this means that they will have extra frame advantage, they have special properties, they'll be able to get bigger combos. So it is risky. You can't just wake up parry with no risk. It's susceptible to throw, which will also be a punish counter. And say for example they were to shimmy you and then you do the tap parry and it comes out and they hit the recovery frames of that with say a crouch medium kick into whatever, you will again get punish countered. So be wary of that on wake up. So now I'm going to go a bit over the weaknesses. I touched on it slightly before about how throw beats it and it will get a punish counter. Now this is big because obviously throw is one of the main options you have on Oki when someone is waking up. So if you do guess wrong and you get thrown, you will get punish countered, which is a lot of damage to start with, and also it puts you back in the same situation again because it's a hard knockdown, and then you'll have to make the same guess, and if you guess wrong, it can be a snowball effect, and that's how you lose rounds very quickly in Street Fighter. Now the second weakness it has, again I touched on it before, is that you can hit the recovery frames. So whether they do throw or shimmy, parry will lose to both. The only thing that it will beat is a meaty attack. So the risk reward isn't necessarily in your favor, and I think that's something that they've balanced quite well, because the problem with Third Strike was that you could kind of wake up, guess parry, and there wasn't much risk to it. You could also option select throws in there, so say for example you were to tap parry and then you could still take the throw, these kind of things. Whereas in this game you do have to commit to the parry, and that will cause you to take damage if you guess wrong. Also worth noting that if you do the normal parry, then you won't be able to punish light attacks. It will mainly be moves with more recovery, like heavy buttons, special moves, and maybe some medium buttons. But if you do normal parry, then it's more situational, similar to SF5, Ryu's parry, for example. It's very situational, and you won't be able to get a good punish every time. Perfect parry, however, you can get a massive punish. you can literally do whatever you want because the screen freezes and you have massive frame advantage. However, it is balanced because there is a lot of scaling. From the videos I've seen at least, the combo gets scaled a lot, so it's not going to be the same as Third Strike where you're going to have, you wake up, guest parry, hit them with a massive combo into super and come back. It's not going to quite be like that, but you will be rewarded for doing it. So something interesting I've noticed is while perfect parry does add a lot of scaling to your combo, the regular parry doesn't. So what does this mean? It means most likely if there's a move with more recovery, like a special or a hard button, you'd be better off parrying it with the regular version rather than doing the perfect timing, because then you won't get the scaling and you can get a full damage punish. And this also applies to drive impact, because drive impact is very slow and it has a lot of recovery, so I'm sure you'll be able to punish with the regular parry. Now, another big issue in Third Strike was that parries made zoning almost irrelevant. However, I don't believe that will be the case in SF6, purely because when you parry a fireball, A, they gain as much super meter from what I've seen as you do, maybe a bit more, and B, because it costs half a drive gauge to parry, it means that if you were to parry multiple fireballs in a row, the cost won't be worth what you gain back from parrying the fireball. So it's actually not in your best interest to do so unless you can get a punish. What it does do, however, for example, is you may be able to parry and then close the distance because you recover a bit quicker. So it means that you can, say for example, you were Zangief in this game and you need to get in. That could be a big thing for him, is to parry fireballs, dash in, gain a little bit of ground, and then he can, he's one step closer to getting into that corner where he can do a lot of damage. Also worth noting, it seems that fireballs are much faster in this game than in Third Strike, so that will make them harder to parry in general. And also, unlike Third Strike, you cannot parry in the air. So in Third Strike, for example, if you jump the fireball and they try to DP, you could parry that, and then you could land and punish. However, that will not be the case here. It's just a ground parry, and it does take commitment, so I think that works out better. Now, what I think a lot of people have slept on, and what I've seen a lot of people say that you cannot do, is perfect parry fireballs. However, if you can perfect parry fireballs, I've seen footage of it, I will put it on the screen now. The difference is you will not get the screen freeze, but you will get very good frame advantage. So it means that you will be able to dash in, either gain more ground, or in some cases you may even be able to punish the fireball up close. So it's worth watching out for that. Yeah, but overall that's about it. My thoughts on parry overall, I think that it's a good idea the way that they've done it. If it was like Street Fighter 3, I might have a problem, just because in Street Fighter 3 there was no recovery from parry. You could just basically, option select it into like a lot of things, and it was like there was very little risk. However, it looks like in Street Fighter 6 they have balanced it by making it, it has recovery and there is legitimate options that beat it. So it becomes more of a rock, paper, scissors mind game, as opposed to I'm going to do it just in case, which is perfect, and that's how it should be. Also, I think that the way that they've dealt with zoning and parrying as well, I was worried that it could potentially ruin the zoning game and it would make fireballs obsolete, and fireballs are a massive part of Street Fighter, and that would make me sad. However, it seems like they've balanced that quite well as well, just because it doesn't make sense from a resource standpoint to continually parry fireballs. It's more like if you want to gain a bit of ground, then it's worth doing. You might not lose that much drive gauge, but you're not just going to sit back and parry fireballs like you would in Third Strike. If anyone throws a fireball in Third Strike, there's no reason really not to parry it. So I like the way that they've done that. Also, as I mentioned before, what people have slept on is the ability to perfect parry fireballs. Now, I think this could be a game changer, because it means in that space, from range like 1 to 3, where say for example Ryu might want to throw fireballs in just outside of your poke range, where it's hard to react and you can't jump, or it's hard to react with jump and it's hard to react with special moves. If you can get perfect parry down and dash in and get a punish, I think that would be massive. even if you can't get a punish, but you're able to gain ground and be plus something like that, then I think that would, you know, really be a problem for zoners in this game. Imagine Guile, for example, is throwing sonic booms and you need to get in, perfect parry, dash, and now that he has to, there will be a mix-up. I think that would be perfect. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on the parry. I'm pretty excited. I think that they've implemented it in a very good way. I know a lot of people were worried when they heard parry and they were having these flashbacks of, you know, Daigo moment 37 and how, you know, I mean, it's good for hype, don't get me wrong, and I think that they will still be able to achieve those moments just because, obviously, you know, with perfect parries, players are going to get really good and they will be able to do that consistently depending on the situation. So we'll still be able to get those hype moments, but it isn't overpowered and it won't be literally the built into everything that you do in the game. And I think that was the big problem with Third Strike. It was that, you know, parry was too big a part of it. It was literally an answer for everything and there wasn't much risk to it. So yeah, they've battled that problem like pretty well. I'm happy with that. We'll have to see when the game comes out how it evolves. But yeah, I'm excited. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Yeah, I'm going to try and bring out more videos in the future similar to this. But peace.